Lunar catastrophe. Captain Maya Patel's heart raced as she gazed at the looming crescent of the moon through the reinforced cockpit window. The antimatter drive of Earth's most advanced spacecraft, the HFY Hawking, hummed with barely contained power behind her. This was humanity's giant leap into the future of space travel, and she was at the helm. Approaching lunar orbit, Captain, announced her co-pilot, Dr. Emer Nazari, his voice steady despite the historic nature of their mission. Maya nodded, her dark eyes reflecting the stark lunar landscape, initiating final approach sequence. Emer, start the systems check for lunar insertion. As Emer's fingers danced across the holographic interface, Maya allowed herself a moment of pride. At 32, she was the youngest captain ever chosen for a mission of this magnitude. The antimatter drive they were testing could revolutionize space travel, potentially opening up the entire solar system to human exploration. A soft chime interrupted her thoughts. Incoming transmission from Mission Control, the ship's AI announced. Put it through, Maya commanded, straightening in her seat. The gravelly voice of Flight Director Chen filled the cockpit. HFY Hawking, this is Houston. We're detecting some unusual energy fluctuations in your antimatter containment field. Can you verify? Maya frowned, glancing at Emer. He was already pulling up the relevant data. Checking now, Houston, she responded, a hint of concern creeping into her voice. Emer's brow furrowed as he analyzed the readouts. Captain, these readings don't make sense. The containment field is stable, but there's a power drain we can't account for. Maya's mind raced through possibilities. This mission had been years in the making, with countless simulations and fail-safes in place. An unexplained power drain shouldn't be possible. Houston, we can confirm the fluctuations, Maya reported. We're investigating the cause now. Request permission to delay lunar insertion until. Her words were cut short by a violent shudder that rocked the entire ship. Warning klaxons blared as red emergency lights bathed the cockpit in an ominous glow. Status report. Maya barked, her training kicking in as she fought to stabilize the craft. Emer's voice was tight with tension, multiple systems failing. Antimatter containment is, Captain, this is impossible. Something's forcing a reaction. Maya's blood ran cold. An uncontrolled antimatter reaction could vaporize the ship and a significant portion of the moon's surface. The implications were catastrophic. Houston, we have a serious situation. Maya called out, her voice remarkably calm given the circumstances. Antimatter containment is compromised. We are initiating emergency protocols. Flight Director Chen's response was immediate. Copy that. Hawking. What's your status? As Maya opened her mouth to respond, a new alert flashed across her screen. Her eyes widened in disbelief. Houston, we've discovered a foreign device integrated into our systems. It appears to be sabotage. The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by the persistent wail of alarms. Captain. Emer's voice was barely a whisper. At this rate, we have less than 10 minutes before total containment failure. Maya's mind whirled with calculations and consequences. If they tried to return to Earth, they risked irradiating a large swath of the planet. Remaining in orbit wasn't an option. The blast could destroy satellites and endanger future space operations for decades. That left only one choice. Houston, this is Captain Patel. We're going to attempt an emergency landing on the lunar surface. The stunned silence from Mission Control spoke volumes. Maya. Chen's voice was uncharacteristically personal. That's a one-way trip. The Hawking isn't designed for lunar landing. It's the only way to minimize casualties, Maya replied firmly. We'll aim for the far side. If we can contain the blast, Earth will be shielded from the worst of it. She could almost hear the anguish in Chen's voice. Understood, Captain. It's been an honor. Godspeed. Maya turned to Emer, seeing her own mix of fear and determination mirrored in his eyes. Emer, send out a warning buoy with all the data we've collected. If we don't make it, Earth needs to know what happened here. As Emer nodded and set to work, Maya took manual control of the ship. The moon's pockmarked surface grew rapidly in her view as she wrestled with the controls, fighting against systems that were never meant for this kind of maneuver. "Brace for impact," Maya shouted as the lunar surface rushed up to meet them. The ship groaned and shuddered, metal screaming as it was pushed beyond its limits. With a bone-jarring crash, the ISV Hawking slammed into the lunar regolith, skidding across the barren landscape in a shower of dust and debris. Maya's head snapped forward, then back, her restraints barely keeping her in her seat. As the ship ground to a halt, Maya fought to stay conscious. Warning lights flashed everywhere, but one message stood out starkly on her cracked display. ANTIMAATERQONTENMENT Suritakale, Durichich imminent. Through blurred vision, Maya saw Emer slumped in his seat, unmoving. With trembling hands, she unclasped her restraints and pulled herself towards the emergency kit. Every movement was agony, but she forced herself forward. "Come on, Maya," she muttered through gritted teeth. "Earth's counting on you." She grabbed the kit and stumbled towards the airlock, pausing only to glance back at Emer. "I'll come back for you," she promised, hoping against hope it wasn't a lie. The airlock hissed open, and Maya practically fell onto the lunar surface. She scrambled away from the ship, her movements clumsy in the bulky spacesuit she had barely had time to don. When she was about 100 meters away, she turned back. The Hawking was a twisted wreck, barely recognizable as the pinnacle of human engineering it had been just hours ago. As she watched, a new series of explosions rippled through the ship's core. Maya knew she should keep running, find some kind of shelter, but she couldn't tear her eyes away. This mission was supposed to usher in a new era of space exploration. Instead, it had become a nightmare. A ping from her suit's communication system startled her. With shaking hands, she pulled up the message on her helmet display. It was text only, encrypted with the highest level of security she'd ever seen. The message was brief. "Failsafe activated. Your sacrifice saves millions. We'll be in touch." Before Maya could begin to process the implications of the message, a blinding light erupted from the Hawking. The antimatter containment had finally failed. Maya was thrown backward by the shockwave, her world becoming a dizzying blur of light and shadow. As consciousness slipped away, her last thought was a desperate hope that their actions had been enough to protect Earth. In the darkness of space, unnoticed by the drama unfolding on the lunar surface, a sleek ship of alien design dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Its sensors, far more advanced than anything humanity possessed, easily picked up the aftermath of the explosion. The ship's captain, a being that would be dubbed as Zorax by humans in the future, turned to his crew. In a language no human had yet heard, he gave an order that would change the course of history. "Investigate the anomaly. This changes everything." First contact fiasco. Consciousness returned to Maya in waves, each one bringing with it a new sensation of pain. Her eyes fluttered open, immediately squinting against the harsh glare of emergency lights. The faceplate of her helmet was cracked, and a thin line of frost had formed along the fracture. "Shit," Maya muttered, her voice hoarse. She ran a systems check on her suit, relieved to find that despite the damage, it was still maintaining pressure and oxygen flow. But the readout sent a chill down her spine. 6 hours of breathable air remaining. Groaning, Maya pushed herself up to a sitting position, taking in her surroundings. The lunar landscape stretched out before her, a desolate expanse of grays punctuated by the twisted wreckage of the ISV Hawking about 100 meters away. The ship, or what was left of it, was barely recognizable, having been torn apart by the antimatter explosion. "Emer," Maya whispered, a pang of guilt stabbing through her chest. She had left him behind, and now there was no chance he could have survived. A blinking light on her suit's communicator caught her attention. The encrypted message was still there, taunting her with its brevity and implications. "Failsafe activated. Your sacrifice saves millions. We'll be in touch." "Some touch," Maya growled, anger temporarily overriding her fear. She was stranded on the moon with a dwindling oxygen supply and no way to call for help. Earth probably thought she was dead. A sudden movement in her peripheral vision made Maya freeze. Something sleek and decidedly not human was approaching the Hawking's wreckage. Maya's breath caught in her throat as she realized what she was seeing. An alien craft. Its design was like nothing she had ever seen, all smooth curves and iridescent surfaces that seemed to shift color with every movement. It was roughly the size of a small shuttle, hovering silently above the lunar surface. Maya's mind raced. First contact. Here, now, in the aftermath of disaster. She was wholly unprepared, but the diplomatic part of her training kicked in. If there was any chance of survival, any hope for Earth to benefit from this encounter, she had to make contact. Struggling to her feet, Maya began to wave her arms, hoping to catch the attention of the alien craft. For a heart-stopping moment, it seemed to take no notice of her. Then, with a grace that defied its size, the ship turned and glided towards her position. As it neared, a hatch arised open on its side. Maya's suit radio crackled to life, filling with a series of clicks and whistles that her universal translator struggled to decipher. After a moment, it resolved into heavily accented English. Human survivor, remain stationary. Prepare for extraction. Maya's heart leaped. Rescue. But as the alien craft drew closer, she noticed something odd. There were scorch marks on its hull, and one section seemed to be damaged, leaking a strange luminescent fluid. The ship settled on the lunar surface about 10 meters from Maya. 3 figures emerged, their movements fluid despite their bulky environmental suits. Their helmets were opaque, giving no hint of the faces beneath. Greetings, Maya called out, her voice steadier than she felt. I am Captain Maya Patil of Earth. Thank you for your assistance. The aliens paused, seeming to confer among themselves. Then the tallest of the 3 stepped forward. Captain, the alien's voice came through Maya's radio. I am Zalrix, commander of the Zorax extraction team. Your presence here is unexpected. Maya frowned. There was something off about Zalrix's tone. I apologize for any inconvenience. Our ship experienced a catastrophic failure. I'm the only survivor. Zalrix's helmet tilted, an oddly human gesture of curiosity. Curious. Our intelligence suggested Earth was pre-space flight. Yet here you are, with technology that nearly rival our own. A chill ran down Maya's spine that had nothing to do with the cold. Nearly rivals. Then you're not here to rescue me. Perceptive, Zalrix replied. No, Captain. We are here to extract a rare element from your moon, one critical to our civilization's survival. Your presence complicates matters. Maya's mind whirled. The fate of Earth could hinge on this conversation. Perhaps we can help each other, she ventured. I need rescue, and you need. Whatever it is you're mining. Earth has resources, knowledge. We could trade. The other 2 aliens stepped forward, one of them addressing Zalrix in their native tongue. Maya's translator struggled, catching only fragments. Contamination, antimatter residue, ship damaged. Zalrix turned back to Maya. It seems fate has forced our hand, Captain. The explosion from your ship has saturated this area with antimatter particles. Our extraction equipment is useless, and our ship is damaged. We require assistance. Maya couldn't believe what she was hearing. Here she was, stranded on the moon, brokering a deal with aliens. I have expertise in antimatter technology, she offered. I can help repair your ship if you'll take me with you. There was a long pause as the aliens conferred again. Finally, Zalrix spoke. Agreed, but under one condition. You will not reveal our presence to your people. Earth is not ready for galactic society. Maya opened her mouth to protest, but the rapidly dwindling oxygen readout in her helmet made her reconsider. Fine, she said, but I want to know everything. Why you're here, what you're mining, and why you think Earth isn't ready. You ask much, human, Zalrix replied, a note of amusement in his voice. but your terms are acceptable. Come, we have much work to do and little time." As Maya followed the aliens back to their ship, her mind was awhirl with questions and possibilities. She had dreamed of advancing human space exploration, but never like this. The encrypted message on her communicator weighed heavily on her mind. Whoever had sabotaged the Hawking, whatever millions had been saved by her sacrifice, none of them could have anticipated this outcome. The interior of the alien ship was a marvel of technology, with surfaces that seemed to shift and change as if alive. Maya was led to what appeared to be a medical bay, where one of the aliens began scanning her with unfamiliar equipment. "Your suit is damaged," Zalrix observed. "We will provide you with one of ours. It will interface with your biology and allow easier communication." As Maya began the process of changing suits, she couldn't help but feel a mix of awe and trepidation. She was about to become the first human to don alien technology, to breathe air processed by extraterrestrial life support systems. "I have questions," Maya said as she struggled with the unfamiliar fastenings of the Zorak suit. "As do we," Zalrix replied. "But first, we must repair our ship and leave this place. Your explosion will have attracted attention. There are forces in the galaxy that would not look kindly on our cultural exchange." Maya nodded, realizing that she had stumbled into something far larger and more complex than she could have imagined. As she sealed the alien helmet over her head, a new determination filled her. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she would face them. For herself, for Earth, and for the future of human-alien relations. Little did Maya know that her greatest test was yet to come, hidden in the ancient lunar depths beneath their feet. Lunar Labyrinth. The Zorak ship hummed with an otherworldly energy as Maya worked alongside the alien crew. Her hands, now encased in the sleek material of a Zorak's environmental suit, danced over unfamiliar controls with growing confidence. The suit's neural interface had taken some getting used to, but now it felt like an extension of her own body. "The antimatter contamination is more extensive than we initially thought," Zalrix announced, his multifaceted eyes scanning a holographic display. "Our ship's drive core is severely damaged. We need to find an alternative power source." Maya frowned, her mind racing through possibilities. "What about your mining equipment? Can we repurpose it?" The alien engineer, Vixara, chittered something that Maya's translator rendered as a laugh. "Clever human. Yes, possible, but insufficient. We need more of the element we came to extract. Urgently." "Then let's go get it," Maya said, determination in her voice. "Where exactly were you planning to mine?" Zalrix hesitated, mandibles clicking in what Maya had learned was a sign of concern. "The deposits are deep beneath the lunar surface. Our scans revealed a network of caverns, but now they show inconsistencies." Maya's curiosity piqued. "Inconsistencies? Like what?" "Structures," Vixara interjected, pulling up a 3D map of the subsurface caverns. "Regular patterns that suggest artificial construction. But that's impossible. Your moon should be uninhabited." Maya stared at the map, her scientific mind whirling with implications. Could it be an ancient human base, or something older? The third Zorax, Krelix, the security officer, stepped forward. "Whatever it is, it's our only option. We must investigate." Hours later, Maya found herself descending into the depths of the moon alongside her alien companions. They had located an entrance to the cavern system, not far from the crash site of the Hawking. As they moved deeper, the gentle curve of the tunnel gave way to sharp angles and smooth surfaces that were decidedly unnatural. "This architecture," Maya mused, running a hand along a perfectly straight wall. "It's not human. And I'm guessing it's not Zorax either." Zalrix shook his head, antenna twitching nervously. "No, this is unknown to us. Proceed with caution." They entered a vast chamber, their suit lights barely penetrating the darkness. As they spread out to investigate, Maya's foot caught on something, nearly sending her sprawling. "Watch out," she called, regaining her balance. "There's some kind of..." Her warning came too late. A brilliant light flared to life, momentarily blinding them. When their vision cleared, they found themselves surrounded by hovering orbs of energy, pulsing with an eerie blue glow. "Defensive measures," Krelix growled, reaching for a weapon. "Wait," Maya shouted. The orbs hadn't attacked. Instead, they seemed to be observing. "I don't think they're hostile. Look." The orbs began to move in complex patterns, leaving trails of light in their wake. The trails coalesced into a series of symbols that hovered in the air before them. "It's a message," Vix-Era breathed, her sensors working overtime to record the phenomenon. Maya stepped closer, fascinated. "Can anyone read it?" Zalrix shook his head. "It's no language known to the Zorax." "Perhaps." He was cut off as the symbols suddenly shifted, rearranging themselves into familiar shapes. English letters. "Welcome, explorers," Maya read aloud, her voice filled with awe. "You have entered the repository of eons. Proceed with reverence, for here lies the legacy of the predecessors." The group exchanged glances, a mix of excitement and trepidation in their alien eyes. "The predecessors," Zalrix whispered. "I thought they were a myth. A race said to have seeded the galaxy with life eons ago." Maya's mind reeled at the implications, and they left, whatever this is, on Earth's moon. Why? As if in answer, the symbols changed again. To protect, to preserve, to prevent. "Prevent what?" Krelix demanded. The orbs pulsed once, then winked out, plunging them back into darkness. In their place, a pathway of softly glowing tiles appeared on the floor, leading deeper into the complex. "I guess we follow," Maya said, taking a tentative step onto the illuminated path. As they progressed, the surroundings became increasingly bizarre. Rooms filled with strange machinery that hummed with unknowable purpose. Halls lined with what seemed to be stasis pods, their contents hidden behind frosted surfaces. And everywhere, more of the glowing symbols, flashing warnings and instructions in a dizzying array of languages. "Look," Vix-Era called out suddenly. "The element we seek. It's here, in abundance." Sure enough, veins of a glowing material ran through the walls of the current chamber. It pulsed with a familiar energy that made the Zorax sensors light up with excitement. "We can use this to repair the ship," Zalrix said, relief evident in his voice. "Vix-Era, begin extraction." Carefully. As the engineer set to work, Maya wandered to the far side of the chamber, drawn by a large, circular platform that dominated the space. As she approached, it hummed to life, projecting a massive hologram of the galaxy. "Guys," she called out, "you need to see this." The hologram was alive with activity. Tiny points of light moved between stars, some flashing urgently. And at the edges of the galactic map, a creeping darkness was slowly, inexorably, advancing. "By the first egg," Zalrix breathed. "It's a tactical map. But of what?" Before anyone could respond, a new set of symbols appeared, rapidly translating themselves. "War and ing. Quarantine breach. DTT. Contagion spreading. Time to Tokyo NFECTN. 47 CYCLEs." The room erupted into chaos. Krelx drew his weapon, spinning to face non-existent threats. Vix-Era's manipulators worked frantically at her instruments. Zalrix began rapidly communicating with their ship. But Maya stood transfixed, her eyes locked on the hologram. Among the flashing lights representing worlds in danger, one caught her attention. Third planet from an unremarkable yellow star. "Earth. What is this contagion?" she whispered, dread filling her voice. "And why was it quarantined here, on the moon?" Race against time. The ascent from the lunar depths was a blur of urgency and tension. Maya's mind raced faster than her feet as they navigated the twisting corridors of the predecessor facility. The weight of their discovery pressed down on her, heavier than any G-force she'd experienced in training. As they emerged onto the lunar surface, the stark reality of their situation hit home. The wreckage of the Hawking lay where they had left it. But now Maya saw it with new eyes. Not just a tragedy, but ground zero for a potential galactic catastrophe. "We need a containment field around the crash site," Maya said, her voice tight with controlled panic. "If this contagion is as bad as the predecessors implied, we can't risk it spreading further." Zalrix nodded, his alien features unreadable behind his faceplate. "Agreed. Vixera, begin adapting our mining equipment to generate a quarantine field. Krelks, scan for any signs of anomalous activity." As the Zorax set to work, Maya felt a wave of dizziness wash over her. She stumbled, catching herself against a boulder. "Captain Patel." Zalrix's voice crackled with concern over the comm. "Are you all right?" Maya shook her head, trying to clear the fog that seemed to be settling over her thoughts. "I'm fine. Just tired, I guess. It's been a long day." But even as she said it, she knew it wasn't true. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Krulix's voice cut through her musings, sharp with alarm. "Energy spike detected. Something's emerging from the wreckage." They all turned to watch in horror as a shimmering, amorphous mass began to ooze from the twisted metal of the Hawking. It pulsed with an otherworldly light, tendrils of energy reaching out as if tasting the air. "The contagion," Vixera whispered, her instruments whirring frantically. "It's evolving, adapting to our presence." Maya felt a strange pull towards the entity, a whisper at the edge of her consciousness. She took an involuntary step forward before Zalrix's strong grip on her arm stopped her. "Don't," the Zorax commander warned. "It's trying to influence you. The suit should provide some protection, but we don't know how long it will last." Maya nodded, forcing herself to focus. "Right. We need a plan. Fast." They retreated to the relative safety of the Zorax ship, sealing themselves in the command center. Holographic displays flickered to life, showing real-time data on the growing anomaly outside. "The containment field is holding for now," Vixera reported, her manipulators dancing over the controls. "But it's drawing enormous power. We can't maintain it indefinitely." Krelix, the security officer, pulled up a galactic map similar to the one they'd seen in the predecessor facility. "I've been analyzing the data we retrieved. It seems this contagion doesn't just affect organic life. It corrupts technology, energy itself. If it reaches a populated world, total chaos." Maya finished, the implications sinking in. Technological civilization would collapse. Billions would die. Zalrix's antenna twitched in agitation. "We must find a way to neutralize it. The predecessors must have had a plan, a failsafe." Maya's scientific mind kicked into high gear, pushing through the strange fog that still lingered at the edges of her consciousness. "The antimatter," she mused aloud. "My ship's drive. It wasn't just random sabotage. Someone knew about this threat and was trying to trigger a failsafe. But it wasn't enough," Vixera interjected. "The explosion breached the quarantine, but didn't destroy the contagion." "No," Maya agreed, "but it gives us a starting point. If we can harness enough antimatter, create a controlled reaction." Krelix chittered skeptically. "And how do you propose we do that? Our ship doesn't use antimatter technology." Maya's eyes lit up with sudden inspiration. "No, but we have something potentially more powerful. The predecessor technology in the facility. If we can understand it, adapt it." "It's a long shot," Zalrix said, but there was a note of hope in his voice. "But it might be our only option." As they began to formulate a plan, Maya felt another wave of dizziness wash over her. This time, she couldn't hide it. She swayed on her feet, her vision blurring. "Maya." Zalrix caught her as she stumbled. "What's wrong?" I don't know," she managed, her voice weak. "Ever since we left the facility, I felt strange." Vixera rushed over, her scanners humming. Her next words sent a chill through the room. "She's been infected. The contagion. It's in her system." A heavy silence fell over the group. Maya felt a mix of fear and strange calm wash over her. How long do I have?" Vixera's voice was gentle, almost apologetic. Ours, maybe. It's hard to say. Your physiology is different from ours. You might be more resistant, or I might succumb faster, Maya finished. She took a deep breath, steeling herself. Right. Then we better work fast. Zalrik stepped forward, mandibles clicking in what Maya had come to recognize as a sign of respect. Maya, you don't have to do this. We can put you in stasis. Try to find a cure. No, Maya cut him off, her voice regaining its strength. Earth is in danger. The whole galaxy is in danger. I'm not sitting this out. She managed a wry smile. Besides, this might give us an advantage. If the contagion is in me, maybe I can understand it. Use that knowledge. The aliens exchanged glances, a silent communication passing between them. Finally, Zalrix nodded. Very well. But at the first sign that you're losing control, you'll do what needs to be done. Maya finished for him. I understand. With renewed urgency, they set to work. Vix, Era, and Krelux began adapting the predecessor technology they'd salvaged, while Zalrix coordinated with Maya to develop a plan of attack. As they worked, Maya felt the presence of the contagion growing stronger in her mind. It was alien, vast, hungry. But there was also fear. Fear of being destroyed, of being contained again. It's alive, she murmured, drawing curious looks from her alien companions. Not just a disease or a form of energy. It's a collective consciousness. Ancient. Lonely. Can you communicate with it? Zalrix asked, his voice a mix of curiosity and concern. Maya shook her head. Not exactly. It's more like impressions, feelings. It doesn't think like we do. A sudden alarm blared through the ship. Krelx rushed to the sensors. The containment field is failing. We're out of time. Maya's head snapped up, her eyes glowing with an inner light that wasn't entirely human. Then we go now. Ready or not? They burst from the ship, armed with hastily assembled devices that melded Zorax and predecessor technology. The scene that greeted them was like something out of a nightmare. The contagion had grown, a writhing mass of energy and matter that defied physics. Tendrils of it reached towards them, probing, hungry. As they prepared to make their stand, Maya felt a clarity she had never experienced before. The fog in her mind cleared, replaced by a singular purpose. She understood now, in a way that transcended mere knowledge. Whatever happens, she said to her alien companions, her voice resonating with newfound power, it's been an honor. For Earth. For the galaxy. With that, they charged forward, their unlikely alliance of human and alien facing down a threat older than civilization itself. The fate of countless worlds hung in the balance as the lunar surface became a battleground for the ages. The race against time had reached its final, desperate leg. Humanity's finest hour. The lunar surface, once a desolate expanse of silent gray, had become a maelstrom of light and energy. Maya Patel stood at the forefront of an unlikely alliance, one human and 3 aliens, facing down a threat that defied comprehension. The contagion, a writhing mass of otherworldly power, pulsed and stretched towards them, its tendrils probing the air with malevolent curiosity. Maya felt the entity's presence in her mind, stronger now than ever. But instead of fear, she felt a surge of determination. This was humanity's moment, and she would not falter. Remember the plan. She called out to her companions, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. Vixura, Krelux, deploy the energy sinks. Zolrix, be ready with the containment field. I'll try to distract it. The Zorax moved with fluid precision, their alien forms graceful even in the cumbersome environmental suits. As they fanned out, Maya took a deep breath and stepped forward, directly addressing the contagion. I know you can understand me, she said, her voice carrying across the airless expanse through her suit's external speakers. I know you're afraid. Alone. You've been trapped here for so long. The entity pulsed, its movements becoming more erratic. Maya felt a flood of alien emotions, confusion, anger, a desperate loneliness that spanned ons. She pushed on, buying time as her allies worked feverishly behind her. But this isn't the way, she continued. Consuming, destroying. It won't fill the void you feel. We can help you. Find a way to coexist. For a moment, the contagion seemed to hesitate. Then, with explosive force, it surged forward. Maya stumbled back, nearly overwhelmed by the psychic assault that accompanied the physical threat. Now, she shouted. Vixera and Krellix activated their devices. Modified predecessor technology melded with Zorak's ingenuity. Beams of coherent energy lanced out, striking the contagion at key points. The entity recoiled, its form fluctuating wildly. It's working. Vixera called out, her voice tight with concentration. The energy sinks are destabilizing its structure. But their victory was short-lived. The contagion, ancient and cunning, began to adapt. It split into multiple smaller entities, each one darting towards one of the team members. Look out, Maya cried, diving to push Zalrix out of the path of one tendril. They tumbled across the lunar surface, the low gravity turning their fall into a graceful arc. As they regained their footing, Maya saw that the situation had devolved into chaos. Krellix was grappling with a writhing mass of energy, his weapon forgotten as he fought hand-to-hand. Vixera's instruments sparked and smoked as she tried to recalibrate them to the contagion's new form. We need a new plan, Zalrix said, his alien features unreadable behind his faceplate, but his voice tight with urgency. Maya nodded, her mind racing. Then, with sudden clarity, she understood what needed to be done. The contagion's presence in her mind, the knowledge of the predecessors she had glimpsed in the underground facility, and her own human intuition all coalesced into a singular, desperate idea. I know what to do, she said, her voice filled with a calm certainty. But you're not going to like it. Before Zalrix could respond, Maya was moving. She sprinted towards the heart of the contagion, dodging writhing tendrils of energy. Her hands flew over her suit controls, making adjustments that set off a cacophony of warnings. Maya, stop! Zalrix's voice crackled over the comm. What are you doing? What needs to be done? She replied, her voice strained but determined. The contagion, it feeds on energy, right? So let's give it more than it can handle. With a final twist of a dial, Maya's suit began to glow. The antimatter containment field that had been integrated into its design as a safety measure was now destabilizing, turning the suit into a walking bomb. Maya, no, Vixera cried out, realizing what was happening. The antimatter reaction, it'll destroy everything. Not everything, Maya grunted, pushing forward as the contagion began to coalesce around her, drawn by the surging energy. Just the contagion. And me. The Zoraks tried to reach her, but the contagion had formed a barrier, cutting Maya off from her allies. She stood alone at the heart of the storm. Listen to me, she said, addressing both the contagion and her friends. The predecessors, they got it wrong. Containment isn't the answer. Understanding is. The glow from her suit intensified, and Maya felt the antimatter reaction building to critical levels. The contagion pulsed around her, curious, hungry, but also listening. We're not so different, you and I, Maya continued, her voice growing weaker as the energy buildup took its toll. Both explorers, both seeking connection. But true connection, true understanding, requires sacrifice. With trembling hands, Maya reached up and unsealed her helmet. The unforgiving vacuum of space rushed in, but she didn't feel pain. Instead, there was a moment of perfect clarity as her consciousness merged with the contagion. In that instant, spanning both a heartbeat and an eternity, Maya Patel understood. The contagion wasn't evil, wasn't a disease to be cured. It was a fallen child of the predecessors, an experiment in pure energy and consciousness that had gone wrong. Abandoned, alone, it had lashed out in fear and hunger across the eons. And now it understood too. Through Maya's eyes, It saw the beauty of life, the power of cooperation, the strength found in diversity. It saw the vastness of the universe not as something to consume, but as something to explore, to learn from. As the antimatter reaction reached its peak, Maya had one last thought. "I'm sorry," she sent out, to her family on Earth, to her new alien friends, and to the contagion itself. "And thank you." The lunar surface erupted in a blaze of light brighter than a supernova. The Zorax, protected by a last-minute containment field, watched in awe as the energy washed over them. When the light faded and the dust settled, there was no sign of Maya or the contagion. But where they had been, a new structure had formed. A perfect sphere of an unknown material, pulsing gently with an inner light. Zalrix approached it cautiously, his instrument scanning. It's both of them," he said, his voice filled with wonder. "Maya and the contagion. They've merged, transformed." Vixera joined him, her scientific curiosity overcoming her shock. "The readings are off the charts. This could revolutionize our understanding of energy, of consciousness itself." Krelx, ever the pragmatist, looked up at the Earth, hanging blue and beautiful in the black sky. "What do we tell their people?" Zalrix was quiet for a long moment. Then, with a gesture that was surprisingly human, he placed his hand on the sphere. "We tell them the truth, that they should be proud. That when the moment came, humanity rose to the challenge. That Maya Patel saved not just Earth, but countless worlds across the galaxy." He turned to his companions, his posture resolute. "And we tell them that they're not alone in the universe. That it's time for Earth to take its place among the stars." As if in response, the sphere pulsed once, a warm glow spreading across the lunar surface. And in that light, the future of human-alien relations was born, forged in sacrifice and mutual understanding. In the depths of space, on a forgotten moon, humanity had faced its greatest test, and in its finest hour, it had not merely survived. It had transcended.